It's 7:02. It is 7:02 p.m. on Monday, March 2nd, 2026. I will not be reading a disclosure before we begin the meeting, simply because there has been a slight change, and we will hear from that in the near future. So right now, I will call to order this meeting. And with that call to order, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, approval of meeting minutes from January 12th, 2026. I would ask if anybody had any questions, concerns, comments, if any edits need to be made, please specify. My hope is that everybody had a chance to read them. Not hearing any comments or concerns, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion made by Ms. Sullivan. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Thomas. Josh, can you take the roll call, please?
MJ,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and Derek. The committee is in the process of voting on the meeting minutes. You can abstain since you just joined, or you can approve if you'd like. Might still be working as camera, so we just won't ask. All right.
I will approve.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you, Derek. Thank you. The motion was approved.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. We will now move on to item C on our agenda, public comment. Before public comments are made, I would ask that members of the public, when acknowledged, please give your name and your address clearly so that we can have it recorded for the public record and also to be reflected in our minutes. So I will open it up. I actually see a few hands. So I see that Miss Donna Jewell had her hand up first. Then Mr. Hunt, Dr. Hunt, you'll be able to go second after Miss Jewell.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Donna Jewell, 50 Keith Place. I wanted to bring something to your attention. I saw the school committee agenda that is posted online for this Wednesday. It has an agenda item on it to vote on the renewal of the superintendent's contract. It's a little concerning to me because his contract doesn't expire until June 30th, which is quite a bit distance away. And if you have not received, and I don't know this, the Bridgewater Rainham Regional School District audit that the two towns are paying for, my question is, could the Finance Committee send a letter to the school committee tomorrow requesting that the vote be held off on for the renewal of the contract until you've received the audit and had the opportunity to review the audit completely prior to the school committee making any recommendations on, or taking a vote, I should say, on the renewal of this contract? In my opinion, there's still plenty of time. There's 4 months left. And I think this would be a wise thing to do given the current financial position of our town. I did make a public records request for the contract, and the current salary is $205,000 plus 6 weeks vacation, 26 days, and 30 personal days, some of which is accruable. So it's a major expenditure for our town. And the sick leave, I know, it said it's capped at 235 days. Just a concern, given the condition that we're in right now, and most importantly, that both towns are paying additional monies out of our coffers for this independent audit. And I think it's just a respectful thing for the school committee to do, to allow us to have the opportunity, or not us, but you as a finance committee, to have the opportunity to look at the audit results before they take a big action step like this. That's all I have.
We appreciate that. Thank you, Miss Jewell. Moving on to the next member of the public, Dr. Hunt.
Yes, Carlton Hunt. I'd like to speak to order FY 26052, but I would prefer to speak to it when you are discussing it, if I can.
Yep, that would be allowed since you're a member of the CPC. You would certainly be a resource. I see that Ms. Gosconi is here as well. So when we get to that point, yes, we'd certainly welcome your input, Dr. Hunt.
Thank you.
No problem. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? Going once, going twice. Alrighty, thank you everyone for contributing your comments. We will now move on to item D, old business. There is no old business, so we shall move on to item E, new business. Our first item of the evening will be ordinance D FY 25-19, adoption of clause 22I of Massachusetts General Law, chapter 59, section 5, also known as the HERO Act. I'm going to go down to this part here, and this is actually from a while back. Okay, and there are items here. So if folks had a chance to read it, it basically explains that the town would be adopting the section of the law that was recently passed called the HERO Act, which provides additional benefits to those who are veterans and would qualify for it. Thankfully, this evening we have Miss Guarini, Miss Pires, and the town assessor, Miss Macaulay, here to explain a little bit more in detail about what this signifies and how this would be implemented. So I will open up the floor to all three. Just
Thank
make sure you're
you.
off mute, folks.
Thank you. Thanks for having us tonight. Yep, I have Shelley Macaulay here, who's our chief assessor. We've talked extensively in the Budget and Finance Committee, the three-person subcommittee of the council. So I don't know if anybody watching this, they want to go back and see that discussion that Mrs. Macaulay, sorry, Shelley, and the budget subcommittee members went through it. So I'm going to let Shelley talk, and then if anyone has any questions, they can pick her brain, but I'll let Shelley give you a rundown of what this order will do for us.
Okay, hi everyone. MJ, is this just for the 22I, correct?
Yes, it looks like it is for adoption of clause 22I.
Okay, very good. Okay, so if the town was to accept this, it would increase the amount of the tax exemptions granted to the veterans on their domiciles under certain clauses, clause 22, 22 big A, B, C, E, and F, annually by a cost of living adjustment. In other words, COLA.
Yeah.
And that is determined by the Department of Revenue, and it's based on the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. If the town had adopted this last year, I did a cost analysis, and the COLA for fiscal year 2006 was 2.9%. So therefore, it would have increased. It would have had a $2,874 increase to the overlay account, or it would have had to come out of the overlay account had we had the town voted on it. So we had $99,100 in the exemptions last year, all exemptions under the veteran clauses I just named. And if we were to had passed this last year, as I said, it would have been 2.9% of the COLA, and that would have came out to $2,874 additional.
So I appreciate that, Ms. Macaulay. I actually do have a quick question. I'm not sure.
And that was for 139 applicants.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess my question is knowing that this was discussed during the midpoint of last year, how come it's taken so long to get to us?
Well, actually, it was because it wouldn't have taken effect to the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
It would have went over the July 1st deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to wait another year. And actually, when I just saw the order, it's also still saying fiscal year 26. That's incorrect. I'll have to change that to 27.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you would have to vote this before July 1st in order to have this applicable for fiscal year 27.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a timing thing.
Yeah, so I don't think you guys could have went through the subcommittee in time for July 1st. So it was held up, I think, in the Budget and Finance subcommittee. I think it was referred to you, and I honestly think you guys already approved it, but I don't know. I'd have to go back and see, but they're gonna contemplate this at one of their upcoming council meetings. So, and they're gonna fix the dates and all that to amend the dates to bring it up to fiscal 27. That was the intention of the subcommittee of the town council.
Okay. A follow-up question for you, Laurie, but also probably for Josh as well. Because it references FY26, and this is supposed to go back to the town council for revision to change basically it to be FY27 with the FY27 figures. Would it be prudent for us to actually vote on this in its current form, or should we even offer an amendment?
We should wait.
There's no figures per se, though.
Well, what I mean is that the percentage that was referenced, and the fiscal year, because I know right here in section 2, it says the projected FY26 adjustment is 3.3%. So if FY27's is a little bit different from that, whether it's higher or lower, I'm looking at it from a perspective of, well, we're voting to approve or give consent to this in its current form. I want to make sure we're, as to form, we're using the right figures, we're using the right fiscal years, because that could cause a problem if there's some issue with applications for these types of abatements. That's the only thing I was expressing concern about. But knowing that this is going to be going back to the council at some point in the near term, I'm not sure if that question is moot, because obviously we'd just be contenting to say yes, we would support this, or conversely, we might not support this for that same particular reason. But I just wanted to ask that question.
Okay. MJ, may I?
Yes, Mr. Palmieri.
Shelley, do you have an estimated cost to the town of what this would be?
Yes, like I said, it would have been $2,874
Total for everybody?
total for everybody. Yep.
Pardon?
Yes,
It's
just for
an
the
additional-
139.
Yeah,
For
it's
the-
additional to their current exemption, so.
Right. I was just going to say, I thought that the veterans already got an exemption. Is that correct?
No, we had passed what's called it's like similar to the senior program. We passed a veterans program also. So that gave an additional 10 applicants that could have applied under the veteran side of the program.
But he's asking if the veterans already get exemption,
Well, they're
Shelley,
getting
which they
some-
do.
I
under
thought they were
another-
getting an exemption already.
Oh, there's plenty of exemptions already that the veterans are able to get. Like I said, last year under the exemptions that I just named, we had 139 of them.
Mhm.
That equaled $99,100 that came out of our overlay.
Okay.
That's how much came out of our overlay. I mean, that's how much the veterans exemptions, that cost of the exemption. And then we're reimbursed by the state. This one, if we do this local option, though, it will not be reimbursable by the state. So fiscal year 26, those exemptions that I named, the clause 22, 22A, B, C, E, and F, there was $99,100 cost. Of that, $71,450, it looks like, or maybe a little more, was reimbursed by the state.
And that comes in on the cherry sheets.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Oh, yes, Mr. Knoll.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if Nick was done. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah, go ahead. No, please, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head around. The first is, like, where was this HERO Act birth? The birth of this HERO Act, when did this come about and why did it come about? That's the first question. The second question that I have is, out of the 139 veterans, how many of them are on fixed income versus, a veteran who might still be, able to work, an able-bodied person per se, who's able to work, much younger, et cetera, has a career, a second career or a third career. And then third, you outlined 99,100. I might have missed the figures. I guess I'm just trying to understand, how does this impact our current disposition as a town, with respect to our finance challenges? So I'm just trying to understand what analysis was done to kind of compare, if this were to be passed, this is what our current veterans are getting, but the town, the community as a whole would be exempt from getting those funds. And how does that impact the greater town, if that makes sense? And I apologize if I didn't frame my questions correctly, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around all of this.
Shelley, you want to take that or?
Sure. I believe the HERO Act came into effect last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was yeah.
I'm just trying to read through.
So what it does, Rig, is when we're doing the recap at the end of when we're actually finalizing the tax bills and everything, Shelley and the assessing office, compile all the exemptions and the eligibility of such exemptions, and there are extensive number of them. And like she said earlier, the 99,000, however much from last year, they're individually credited and abated off of the veterans' tax bills. So I'm not sure if this criteria, I mean, there's criteria for all of them, and especially for lower income and the elderly, there's more of a leniency. But I'm not sure the veterans has any kind of qualification. Shelley, you could probably tell me wrong. I think all they have to do is prove that they're a veteran, right?
They have to have disabilities.
Okay.
Each one has its own category. But I just want to correct that 139 number. That was the fiscal year before. Because I had done when I first did this, I had to use fiscal year 24, and then I increased it this year to fiscal year 25 because I had all the numbers. So it was 158 veterans in fiscal year 25, not 139. 139 was fiscal year 24. Just so that you know that. So that's how many veterans, more exemptions we actually increased. But we as a town cannot deny anyone that qualifies for a veterans exemption.
But there are certain criterias for each one of the individualized. That's why when they say, chapter,
I think there's a chapter 115, which is, I think, comes into play as far as their income. This is outside of their income. This is exemptions that they can be granted because of their disability rating.
So additional abatement, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, one is money comes in from a different program. This is from just exemptions only.
Okay.
The ones that we're talking about tonight.
Mm-hmm. Did that help or confuse?
A little bit of both. Just a little bit of both. But again, I'm personally trying to wrap my head around it. I want to be very, very clear that I'm grateful for the service of all of our veterans. I have a number of veterans in my family. So, by no means are my questions is leaning one way or the other. I'm just simply trying to understand, but also wanting to be thoughtful about, the responsibilities for which, we're taxed with, right? No pun intended. As a town, I think it's been extremely clear that we have a lack of revenue coming into this town, which is the centerpiece of a lot of our challenges. So to find ways to to eliminate revenue, if you will. I just think that it just adds to the compound problems that we're experiencing. I would hope that we would figure out ways to bring in more money, and then we could be operating, if you will, in the green. Then it becomes a lot easier, per se, to kind of decide on these things, rather than squeezing the taxpayers, particularly the homeowners, right? And continue to squeeze them. So there's just a lot of challenges, but I just want to be very, very clear and go on record that by no means are my questions, you know, devaluing the services of our awesome men and women who have fought hard for each one of us. So I'm truly grateful for that.
Excellent. Excuse me, MJ.
Yes,
Um,
Mr. Palmieri.
Rig, I agree 100% with you. I think that, you know what, there's a right time sometimes, and there's not a right time. We are in a bit of a precarious situation with the town budget. And there are a lot of things going on right now percolating within the town. I think that could be relatively expensive, and they're going to have to be taken care of. And the pockets of taxpayers is not limitless. And though I have the utmost respect for our veterans, it's obvious that there are programs out there already to help them. This is in addition to that. Perhaps this is something that we could look at as a consideration for a future assignment. But I think, in deference to the majority of taxpayers in the town, that this may not be the right time to do that, in my opinion.
So I just want to reiterate again about the cost of this. So like I said before, we had 158 exemptions last year. There were 99 that fell under the 22A through F. So that was $39,600 that the people got, that the veterans got, and we got reimbursed $22,275. Then we had one that was under the 22C that was $1,500, and we got reimbursed $1,025. And then there was 58 under the 22E program, and that was $58,000, and we got reimbursed $47,850. So although we will not be able to have, if we pass this local option, we will not be able to have a reimbursement per se. It's just minimal. So it's only for the whole year for 158 people, it's $2,974. $2,800. That's for
all of them.
everybody.
For this particular.
Just for
Right,
for this particular one.
The HERO Act, quote unquote, correct?
No, this is a local option under the HERO Act. One local option under the HERO Act.
You think government great? It really is. Just, change the numbers and you have something else. It's like a maze. I know it almost sounds petty, but we're voting on a approval of a $25 donation tonight. So it's not nothing is small. But once again, if we're looking at fiscal responsibility, this falls into that category. And I think that, Rig, I could be wrong, but I think you were kind of leaning in that direction relative to your statement as well. Like I said, sometimes things fall in the right time, and sometimes they don't. I see a lot of expenses coming up for the town of Bridgewater, and no matter how small they are, there are many things we'd love to have. Doesn't necessarily mean that we will have to have them.
I just wanted to give you I just want to make sure I was giving you the correct numbers so that you can make your decision.
No, and thank you, Shelley. I appreciate you certainly coming on and you know bringing this information forward. Your presentation was fine. I don't understand what the 22, 22A, 22B, 22, I don't know what the nomenclature is or what those
It's just different
relative.
percentages of disability. Some are
Right.
10%, some loss of eyes, some 100%. But like I said, the bottom line is, and I just want so I can reiterate again, if we had done this last year, we did do this we had $99,100 in exemptions last year. Of that, $71,450 was reimbursed by the state. That left the town with $27,650 that came out of what's called the overlay account that we have in town. And if we were to if you were to implement this program, had it had last year, like I said, it would have been an extra 2,800, what did I say, $875? I just want to make sure $874. I just want to make sure everyone has the right numbers. That's all. So you
Okay.
can,
All right.
okay. Thanks again.
No, thank you. Obviously it's up to the will of the committee, not me. I'm one vote, so I throw it out to the rest.
So I'm confused about one thing too. So MJ, as a follow-up to yours, are we implementing this in 2026, or is this going to be part of the 2027 budget, which we haven't
2027.
even voted on?
Oh.
So I'm not sure what we're voting on tonight because 27 hasn't even come through yet. If we're implementing this in 2026 and the property tax bills have already gone out,
Yeah.
how do we go do this?
We can't do it. 2026 has come and gone.
Okay, so
It's
then,
2027.
And the
so
thing is,
then,
and the other,
Yeah.
the additional thing is too, is John, is that because exemptions and abatements the applications are done in the summer, the abatements and exemptions would end up on the third and fourth quarter bills. If I remember correctly, Shelley, do they end up on the third and fourth quarter here in town, or is it just the third?
Third and fourth, but this would have to be done in time for July 1st. For this, everything would have to be done from all committees, the town council, in order to get on the 27 fiscal year 27 bill.
Right.
Yep. I don't know if that helps you out as far as
Well,
timeline.
I think it does, at least for me. I think, John, I think you were pointing in that same direction, is that if we're, the timeline is such that this is very compressed for us, at least if we don't, if we take some sort of vote on it now and then it goes to council, they could take a few weeks on this. And I know you folks probably will need paperwork, printed up and be able to send it out with the preliminary bills to those who are veterans who may be interested in applying for any type of exemption under Clause 22I. Is that kind of what it sounded like, John?
well, it does, but the other thing though, the 2026 budget, but we have a $93,000 give back, of which only 72,000 is coming back from the state. So that means we had a $21,000 shortfall. I don't think we voted on that in the 2026 budget. It just went through the
No.
overlay account.
It's not a shortfall, John. So
Yeah.
if I can
Well,
just
we got
explain.
reimbursed 73 and we had 99. Well, I don't know the exact numbers. We had a $20,000 difference in what was given as opposed to what was given back to us. Correct?
But that's
Yeah.
what we budgeted. We budget that in the overlay to actually take care of all exemptions and abatements. That's what the overlay is.
So when you're looking at the levy of the collecting all the tax bills, the real estate and the personal property, you can see that when we raise the levy, which is property tax, we also have to include debt exclusion, and there's a whole thing that we're going to be doing some community budget forums to help explain the process of how we budget it. But we also, when we budget for $83 million, say it's in the levy, we also have a percentage that we budget in the overlay, and it's called the abatements, the allowance for abatements and exemptions. So we always have a percent of whether it's exemptions that are written off or bad debt, things like that, abatements to properties that may have gotten overcharged. We want to make sure that we have sufficient funds in case of things like that. So it is a mathematical process that is done within the budgetary annual.
Part of the 2027 one, because my fear is, Lori, is that we're gonna have a shortfall in 2026, which nobody has told us what that number is. And we're probably looking at a 2027 override between $8 and $10 million or somewhere. And these are John Higgins's figures. And I guess back to Rig and back to Nick's point, maybe we should see what the 2027 picture looks like before we start giving away anything here. And I understand, the veterans.
You have a valid point. You know,
Yeah.
we're always, you know, we're in the budget process now. So yeah, I hear you. I hear your point.
My final point on this again is here we meet as a committee, and we've got this huge, gigantic problem in the middle of the room, and we're not doing anything about it. But we're talking about giving away, and again, it's only $2,200 or $2,800. I would love to understand what the total picture is before we start deciding what we can give away and what we can go spend money on. And I'll be quiet at that point, right? But I don't even think that this belongs for a vote today. So.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Did anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Now that we've had sufficient discussion on this matter, I would ask, what is the will of the committee, and if there is a motion?
Is it valid to even motion this for 2026? And I think that I would like to defer and get a ruling on that before we move forward.
Okay. Josh, little bit of guidance. But to that question, because it does say FY26, we effectively would be saying that we're voting for this for fiscal year 26, which is not feasible since FY26 is more or less halfway over. I think it would probably be prudent if we held off on this.
I mean, you guys can choose to do that. I think the way that at least the process would work, I mean, you guys make a recommendation. You'd be recommending it with the updated year that Shelley shared with us. She clarified that. I mean, you guys can't make any changes. Town council would have to make that change, and they're going to have to make that change. I think, you know, if they did make that change, then it'd be up to them if they felt they needed to send it back to the committees. But with Shelley clarifying, I think you guys could make a recommendation based off that.
Okay. Thank you, Josh. So, with that input, I would ask again, what would be the committee's pleasure at this point? It sounds like we have a credible off-ramp for this, and if folks want to act on that, I'm more than happy to entertain.
And Jay, I don't hear anything. I would say we move forward.
Okay. So then, am I hearing correct, Mr. Palmieri, that there's a motion on the floor then?
No, I'm not making a motion.
Okay.
What I'm hearing, MJ, is can we send it back to town council for updates, and also you know, what are the numbers for fiscal year 2027? Because this document does highlight fiscal year 2026, and I understand the timing of it. You know, if we were to vote tonight, it needs to be voted on ahead of July. But you know, I think, and this is just my own personal opinion, I think that's part of the challenge, which is, you know, we're cashing checks before you know, I'm sorry, we're spending money before we even have an opportunity to cash checks that we may or may not receive. And I hate to use this analogy. Please excuse the analogy. I guess it works for me in my brain. So I would hold off on this or at least I would advocate to hold off on this until we actually know what we're working with.
Okay. So then, I'm going to parse it and make it so it's digestible for everyone. So then, what I would be hearing is a motion to return it to the town council with the hope that they amend it to the FY27 figures and be able to provide us a proposed amount of what this would be in fiscal year 2027. Is that
So
correct?
made.
All right, motion made by Dr. Bennett. Do I hear a second?
I would second that motion. I would second that motion to see what comes back. Thank you.
Precisely.
All right, so I heard the motion by Dr. Bennett, seconded by Mr. Knoll. So just to
In-
confirm that, we'd be sending it back to the town council with the hope that they make change to FY27 and provide a forecast of it before we give them our final advice on it. Okay. All right then. So Josh, if you can take the roll call, please.
Yep, and just to clarify, you're not voting for or against it. You're voting to send it back.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, I just have to clarify that is an okay process. But I'll keep you updated, MJ, and we might just need additional notes added to that.
Okay.
So roll call, MJ,
Aye.
Derek,
Yes.
Rig,
Sorry. Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you, everybody. All right, so now we will move on to our next order of business here. Order FY 26-049, acceptance of a donation from High Pond Residents Association. So I'm going to just scroll down to that now. The explanation for it is the High Pond Resident Association has graciously donated $25 in memory of David Freyer to the Bridgewater Veterans Office to be used at the sole discretion of the Veterans Agent to support the mission of the Veterans Office. I saw that there is a letter from High Pond Residents Association regarding Mr. Freyer, who had recently passed, who was a World War II veteran, and that he had asked that $25 be donated in his name to the Veterans Office to be used by the Veteran Service Officer. It is a great thing to see that even in the passing into memory, our veterans still continue to serve us, and I think that's something very special. And I know that just based on the letter here, he was a devoted veteran, a husband, and a dedicated member of the community who was very, very much into participating in the community with a bunch of activities. Again, I think this is a really nice thing to come before us, and I certainly, if anybody is a relative of his family or of his neighbors at High Pond Estates, I would say thank you. So, with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Guarini if there's anything else that we need to know.
No, I think you just captured that. I do know that the Veteran Services, he has a donation fund that generous people will donate some funds for use under his guidance of what to spend it on. And he has breakfast for the veterans and lunches, and if he knows somebody needs dinners and things, he'll use this fund to help supplement, someone who's in desperate need of a little attention, and he does a really good job with that. So even $25 will help make, someone's day brighter. So
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Laurie. I think with everything said, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
made by Mr. Palmieri. Did I hear a second from Dr. Bennett?
Correct.
Alrighty, Josh, can you take the roll call, please?
MJ,
Aye.
Derek,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone, and to Mr. Freyer, may his memory be a blessing. All right, moving on to our next item on the agenda here. Order FY26-050, acceptance of a grant, Old State Farm Trail Phase 4 readiness. So just to bring this down here, let's see. The explanation given on here is that the town of Bridgewater has received a grant in the amount of $10,000 from the Taunton River Stewardship Council, and a grant was applied for and received from Taunton River Stewardship for a community grant award in the amount of $10,000 for funding for the Old State Farm Trail Phase 4 Readiness Program. There is a little bit of information here from Caitlin Beardsley, and actually this is to her from Taunton River Stewardship Council. This is a actual award letter. Not seeing any other additional material for this, so Lori, can you give us a little more detail on this?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So this is phase 4 of there's been over the last 5 to 10 years of improvements to the community's open space and recreational programs. The Wild and Scenic Taunton River Stewardship Council, which is spearheaded by one of our local residents, Miss Kitty Doherty. She does a lot of volunteer work and a lot of fundraising for the open space. But this Old State Farm Trail, this is phase 4 of just improving the trails for the community. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's been involved in seeing all the open space that's recently with the Styles and Hart trail. They're trying to connect them all and give Bridgewater and its residents some great hiking trails. So and at no expense to the residents. It's all volunteer and grant funded.
A question for you, Lori. Since the name of it is the Old State Farm Trail, is this actually down near the prison area?
Yes, this one
Okay.
is. Yep. hmm
Okay. So then, in order for it to be a part of sort of like that Greenways like link, there's linkage between it and the other parklands that are throughout town. That's the initial plan, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's the goal, ultimate goal.
Okay. Alrighty. Are there any questions from the committee?
None needed.
Alrighty. This sounds like this is a good thing to help make the trails a little bit more accessible and ready for usage by recreationalists and folks that are looking to enjoy the natural beauty and scenery of the town of Bridgewater and our wild and wonderful lands that we do have. It is certainly a good thing when we see these types of things happen, especially to preserve the environment. So that being said, if there aren't any other questions or concerns, I would entertain a motion.
So made.
Motion made by Dr. Bennett. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All right, seconded by Mr. Knoll. Josh, can you take the roll call, please?
MJ,
Aye.
Derek,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. Now we will move on to the next item of new business. Order OFY26-052, CPC Additional Funds, Restoration of Parthenon Frieze. And for those who may be uninitiated, we're going to go down to the legislation here. This is for, and some of you have probably seen it if you've gone into the Academy building recently. We have new friezes that are on the walls in the main lobby area of the Academy building. The explanation for this order is the remaining costs referenced in the motion to include $3,375 to cover the deficit and $1,125 for a storyboard describing the friezes, which will also be installed in the Academy building. Fortunately, we do have two folks here tonight, I believe, in attendance to explain that for us, along with Laurie. I think I saw Dr. Hunt here and Ms. Gasconi, who are both on the CPC. And I would certainly welcome whoever wishes to speak first to give us a little bit of detail on this.
Hi, this is Carlton Hunt, 80 Austin Street, Vice Chair of the CPC. I was intimately involved with the Freeze project that's been ongoing for over 3 years. After much, oh, and by the way, guys, I really appreciate your concerns about costs, et cetera. But I'll try to explain where this is coming from. It took a long time to get them installed, and we finally got a date for the installers to come down. The chief installer needed to see the area, and he was not scoped to do that kind of trip. So part of the cost that we incurred was for that. And the major part of it was they needed stanchions. They needed a way that they could get these fairly heavy devices up into the air to install them on the wall. And I had to do a lot of research locally to find a company that could actually provide the staging for the academy. And their company would have cost us $8,000. I found it for a couple thousand. And there was another change order in there that we had when the installer came down. We made some decisions as to exactly what freezes went where, what casts went where. And that resulted in some additional work that had to be done in the academy building. So there are a number of change orders, additions, and that's what the $3,500 is for. The $1,000 approximately is because these frees may be the only ones in the country, possibly the world. And we need to have some kind of storyboard that explains where they came from. Some of those freeze casts were made from granite installations that were in 400 AD, and some in 1600, some a little bit later. So, and the company that did these freezes had to get permission from the museums in Europe to actually form the cast, to cast those I'll get it out, cast those images in 3D so that they could actually use that to produce the cast that we have. So bottom line is they are very unique. Unfortunately, we had a cost increase. The last piece I'll say to that is the town is obligated to pay the increase regardless. And that payment has been made. It's been made out of an account that enables that kind of payment. So if there's any situation like this, it can get paid. The CPC voted to recommend to the council to in fact use CPA funds so that we were using CPA funds, not the regular taxes. So that's the reason that's in there. And then the storyboard is simply additional costs that we had not planned for. And I'll happily answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hunt.
MJ, get a question.
Yes, Mr. Palmieri.
Carlton, so you're saying this has already been paid, is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Correct.
We had to pay it by law.
Oh, but okay. With respect to, you mentioned that there were $2,000 of this were going towards work that needed to be done at the building. I didn't think CPA money was allowed to be used for maintenance.
It's not maintenance. That was installation of the freeze.
So, but you said there was work to be done through I thought that
it's not maintenance. Go back a ways. The walls are metal framing, and the walls were not strong enough to support the weight of those freeze and those casts.
Mhm.
In order to make the wall strong enough, they had to go up and behind and put strengthening members in there. And we had planned to do it only in the front of the entrance of the academy, but we put one of the casts in the stairwell coming down from the second floor. That wall was not planned for, so we had to add the money for that. So it's not maintenance. It's actually installation costs, and we can pay for that.
Nope, that's clarified. Okay. Fair enough.
Thank you.
Good question, Mr. Palmieri. Did you say something, Ms. Cosconi?
I did, and I'm not usually on this end. I'm on the end that sees hands raised, and I can't figure out how to raise my hand other than to wave to you.
That's okay.
I would like to reiterate what Carlton has said. I think that the frees are an absolute great addition to the Academy building, which is a nice building. To expand on what Nick has said about maintenance, correct, you can't use CPC funds for maintenance, but you can use it to, in this case, shore up, lack of a better word, I'm not a contractor, to shore up the wall for the installation. And I would like to thank Carlton for all his work on this, and Councillor Hunt, who was town clerk at the time, who spearheaded the project too and applied for CPC funds. And as Carlton said, he has saved, just for the staging, watching numbers. We watch CPC funds as much as you folks watch the general town finances. He did save us thousands. So I'd like to thank him and thank the Finance Committee for hearing, and encourage you to vote favorably on this.
Thank you, Ms. Gasconi. Did any of the members have any questions?
I do have a question or two, Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Knoll, what you got?
I was curious to know, these, I want to admit, I didn't know what the heck this was. I had to Google it. So, truth be told, but I've seen them, in buildings, and they're absolutely gorgeous. I guess the question that I have is, these are indoors, right? Not outdoors.
Correct.
Okay. And then, what happens, if they get damaged, what happens? Who repairs it? Where does the funds come in terms of repairment? And does those funds still fall under CPC funds, or does it now fall under maintenance funds? I guess how do we keep these beautiful structures up to date and looking nice?
I don't know if I'll go ahead, Gina.
No, I was just going to say they're hung high enough, and I basically can't imagine them getting damaged unless they fall. And hopefully they put them up strong enough. And if they did perchance get damaged, could come back to the CPC to possibly fund it.
I'll add to that. I believe the town's insurance would cover something like that, but
Sure.
that's a question that I'm just thinking that way. But also remind everybody that these casts were created back in 1912, and so they're very historic. And so, not the path I want to go down, but we could restore them again. So, but that would be unfortunate if we had to do that. But you got a good question.
Those were good questions, Ray. And from the insurance perspective, because it would be considered part of the Academy building at that point, the general liability policy, I believe, that the town has under Maya would cover any type of damage and recovery for it.
I wonder if they would, the insurance company would want potentially an additional premium for something like that.
Depending on how much I would think probably depending on how much it costs, because if I recall from my days in the town manager's office, we sort of had questions like that, especially when, if folks remember back in 2017, we had a really nasty windstorm and all of the dugouts down at Legion Field got blown over off of their foundations and over onto the ground. There was some additional increase in the insurance premium to cover the recovery costs to rebuild those dugouts and build them back a little bit more sturdier. Additionally, the same thing happened with, car insurance policies under Maya as well. Obviously, you have enough cars get damaged, your premium's going to go up. So if the damage was high enough, I would suspect that the underwriting would obviously probably increase the premium. So, and also considering how historical those items are, this is just me, spitballing it, but knowing how insurance works, I would think that it would be an increased cost because if those are effectively one of a kind, that means they're almost irreplaceable and somewhat priceless, which would make the insurance cost a bit higher, which then would be a much more expensive ordeal for us. But that being said, my hope is that, along with Gina, that they are in a sturdy enough position that they will stay on those walls for quite some time.
May I add one thing?
Sure, Dr. Hunt.
The issue before you, I appreciate the insurance piece, but the issue before you is covering the cost of the installation and the change orders that occurred, as I've explained. The insurance thing, I think that's, if it ever happened, the way MJ explained it, is that the insurance premium might go up after that occurred. So right now, the only thing I believe you need to recommend to the council, and I really hope you do, is the funding of this additional funds for this project.
Madam Chair, I have one more question.
Yes, Mr. Knoll.
And it's probably more of a clarification question. What I'm hearing is that these are funds that we already have in the bank, if you will, part of CPC, and all we're simply doing is paying this off. What's already paid off, we're just reallocating the funds differently.
Yeah,
Correct.
we're just replacing the money that the town took out of the general fund area with CPA funds. So that money goes back into that account for other uses.
Okay.
Right. And yes, Terry, to answer your question, CPC does have adequate CPA funds to cover this cost,
Thank
to
you.
reimburse the town for what they've paid.
Thank you. I just wanted to go on record as part of consistency in terms of being, financially responsible, where our previous conversation, a lot of discussions about being financially responsible. And then now this comes up. I don't want to get the perception that we've excluded one critical important piece, and then now here's something else that, in my opinion, while it's beautiful to see the art, if you will, I'm just outlining it as an art, versus the day-to-day livelihood of veterans, etc. But these are funds that we currently have, and we're just reimbursing. That's what it is. It's not funds that's being taken away from taxpayers.
Correct.
Thank you.
The only impact is this: if it doesn't get reimbursed, the town taxpayers, that goes into the cost down the road. We do have plenty of money to cover this.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Dr. Hunt. Thank you, Ms. Gasconi, and thank you, Mr. Knoll, for that. I do also want to acknowledge, just for the record, that based upon Mr. Mark Thomas's note from earlier, that he has left the meeting for the evening, we do still have enough members to continue our business, but I just wanted to make sure it was noted for the record that he had to leave due to a prior commitment. Are there any other questions from members of the committee regarding this item? Hearing none.
Just one last question. So
yes, Mr. Higgins.
Don't fund it. I mean, I have the same opinion as you do right now. I mean, to not give it to the veterans and to go do this, I think it's all great, but I just think we have very limited resources, and I would love to. So if we don't fund the money through this action, where is it going to come from?
It's going to come from the community preservation funds that we get, and we have four reserve accounts that have money. One is for historical, and we have money in that reserve account to cover this cost. So it's money in the bank.
Right. And John, if I understood your question a little different, if it's not approved, this request from CPC, as we stated before, it's to get the bills paid on time. Within how many days you have to pay them. The town has paid them and taken it out of a town account. This is basically What we're asking now is for approval of the funds, which will go back to the town. So, yes, CPC does have the money, but to answer your question, if it's not approved, as Carlton mentioned, it would have to stay as a town expense. This right here, if it's approved, it's coming out of CPA funds that are already there.
Right. And this committee has to make tough decisions. We have people out there that don't have drinking water, and we're talking about buying art. So I feel
Okay.
the veteran part. I feel for. I can't believe that that it's already been paid for via the town. But okay, I've said my piece.
Okay.
Tough decisions. That's all.
If I don't envy you, any of you on this committee of budget and finance at all. You do have a tough job. But, and I understand there's people that, yes, we have a massive water problem in town. The funds we're looking to pay this with could not be used for anything else other than historic, restoration, affordable housing, open space and recreation. Funds, community preservation funds cannot be used for water. They can't be used to pave roads. They can't be used for, I don't know, the school budget, the highway budget. They have to be used strictly for things that are eligible for community preservation, which is basically historic, which these three are: affordable housing, open space and recreation. They can't be used for anything else. I understand what you're saying, that there are a number of other issues. However, these funds could not be used for that. If that makes sense.
It does. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Dr. Hunt. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for listening to us.
Thank you both for actually attending tonight. We do appreciate it. We definitely welcome our fellow colleagues on other committees, boards, and commissions to come and visit us, especially when there are matters that come before us as well. And it really helps with the insight and input. Are there any other members that have any other questions or concerns?
Madam Chair, if there are no other questions or concerns, I'd like to entertain a motion for the town to get reimbursed. That's essentially what it is.
I have.
All right, I hear the motion by Mr. Knoll, seconded by Dr. Bennett, and just to clarify again, for the record, the money was already spent out of a fund from the town. This is just reimbursing the town out of the CPA for the funds that were already spent by the town. This brings the town whole from that process. All right. Josh, if you could take the roll call, please.
MJ,
Aye.
Derek,
Yes.
Rig,
Aye.
John,
No.
Nick,
No.
Chris, Chris.
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, I still didn't catch it.
No.
No. Okay. Dana,
Yes.
thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you, everyone. We are now moving on to, let's see, what else do we have here on the agenda? That was all of the new business, I believe. We do have additional items for discussion, subcommittee reports and discussion. How I want to frame this evening is twofold. If the subcommittees have reports, then we will share them tonight. I will first off say that unfortunately, due to lack of quorum, my subcommittee, the Capital Plan and Capital Planning Subcommittee, was unable to meet. So I unfortunately do not have a report tonight. That being said, I would hope that the other subcommittee has a report to give tonight, if they were able to meet.
Yes, we were able to meet. We had a really nice discussion about some additional information that we were looking for and sort of the future of the subcommittee. We need to schedule our second meeting, but we need to first request that additional information. I don't know, Nick and John, if you have anything else to add.
No, personally, I that was a great meeting. We pretty much figured out what we needed to get, and it is still information. I think we might have that there. And John, you may be able to fill us in if there's anything in addition to what we were looking for that you're still looking for, so we could probably get together and put it together.
Yeah, so I did go out and do an information request from the schools because our process was to go out and look at overall debt. I did get the expense side from the schools. I didn't get the revenue side from the school, but from the expense side, I was able to put together at least 2 years of prior history and then what it looks like they're asking for in 2027 and what they think they're going to spend in 2026. I haven't gone back to you, Lori, and gotten any updated information on the debt schedules for the town. But I mean, I'd be happy to share that information with the committee or send it onward, however we want to go do that. And I think in addition, we've also gotten the audit that's come out for the town, and it does show the updated liabilities for the health or the other employee benefits and the pension. And I've also gotten figures from the school, but I don't have their balances, and their audit is still not complete at this point. So we're waiting on that as well as possibly any findings from what the audits being done or the deep dive audit on the school side, because I would hope that they would go look at something like the debt, how the debt is being funded, how the employee benefits are being paid, and what the liability is, and is it accurately stated. So that would be my update, guys.
That is very helpful, guys. Very good work. I know that the meeting prior to the one that we were supposed to have scheduled last week, our subgroup sat down with the treasurer collector and the finance director, and we talked about, how a capital plan works on the municipal side and what components go into it and why it's structured the way it is. And that was very helpful to us understanding how it works on the town side. Ultimately, our goal for last week's meeting, if we had been able to meet, was to actually have the superintendent of schools and the business officer and also the chair of the school committee sit before us and tell us how capital plans work on the side of the school district. Obviously, the town has to have certain various needs addressed in their plans over the course of a half decade or more. And our goal was to talk about that with the school district to get a better understanding of how their capital planning process works, so we have a better understanding of how both would combine together when we look at it from the holistic part of the budget process, from the data that you folks would have gotten from your side of things on your subcommittee. My hope is that we will be able to reschedule that committee, and thankfully, since I have my subcommittee members here this evening, it will be my hope that we can agree on a time that will be mutually beneficial and capable of meeting. So that is something I'm certainly hoping we can have a discussion on tonight. Because I would like for us to meet again, and I also want to be able to make sure we can at least give proper time to those who we had invited previously so that they can be in attendance. That being said, I'm looking at the calendar right now, and I suspect that the next opportunity that the capital plan and capital planning subcommittee can meet, I'm not sure if you folks want to still keep meeting on Tuesday or if another day is more workable for y'all. I know, Mr. Knoll, you indicated that you've had some previous commitments in the past that might prevent you from meeting on Tuesday. And Dr. Bennett, I know you've had some prior commitments also. So I want to be at least sensitive to the ability for y'all to meet with me and also, for us to conduct our business. Would Thursdays be a little bit more amenable to y'all?
Madam Chair, if I may, it's Wednesdays are difficult for me. Tuesday, I can make Tuesday work. I have Bible study on Wednesdays.
Okay.
I'm fairly available on most Tuesdays right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the only reason I ask is because I know that we weren't able to meet the last time, and I know we've had difficulty getting quorum. So I want to make sure I can at least have both of you present because I know that you guys want to do the work and you want to get stuff done. So we'll stick with Tuesdays. So the next opportunity would be Tuesday the 10th. Would that be workable for you?
Certainly.
Okay. Rig, does that work too?
Tuesday the 10th should work for me.
Okay.
And we're still gonna keep it at, can you hold 1 second, please?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Sorry, I was just reminded, and it's gonna sound awful of me. It's my son's 20th birthday, Tuesday the 8th. I'm sorry, Sunday the 8th. And he's gonna kill me. Um, could we, Dr. Bennett, could we do the Thursday, the 12th?
I have no problem with that either.
MJ, would that work for you, Thursday the 12th? Other than next week because it's our son's birthday, Tuesday generally would work for me. But for next week, to get a meeting on the calendar, I can do the 12th.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that. My schedule is malleable for everybody and anybody, especially when it comes to trying to get work done on our group, but also the finance committee in general, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to get stuff done. We're here to get the job done. So Thursday the 12th, and would we still want to meet at 6:30 or we want to move to 7 p.m.? It's the pleasure of the subgroup right now.
If we could move to 7 p.m., I usually like about 30 minutes beforehand that I can just go over my notes and finish my dinner.
That's fair. Rig, is you okay with that?
Yes, that works for me. I'm putting a hold on my calendar. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Josh, so I'll send a note to you after the meeting tonight to let you know what we'll need on the schedule again, and we'll extend the invite again to Superintendent Powers and Ms. King.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, cool. And for the other subcommittee, for the budget subcommittee, is your schedule still working out for you folks?
I'm sure we can put together a meeting
Okay.
easily enough. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, so you guys have been able to meet and have been able to get everything together in your time slots for your stuff. Okay, good. Excellent.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Knoll.
I appreciate your giving a preliminary outline of the initial meetings that we were able to have with the earlier folks. If I may, I just want to put it out there to the entire group that what I've learned, in the initial meeting is that as complex as town government is, what's been confirmed for me is that, for future reference, I think it would be extremely helpful to have processes put in place that will allow training for new members who does serve, right? Because it's so complex, in terms of the many entities that that the budget is made of, and where funds are stored, and where funds are coming from, and how you're moving money back and forth, and it really is a pretty robust operation. And I think that anyone who's coming into a finance committee, or any committee for that matter, but and when you're dealing with money, right? I think it would be extremely helpful, before you just kind of thrust someone into these conversations. The processes, the hope of having these processes in place will further educate these individuals, so that way they can start to conceptualize the importance of their role and what it means and how things are being done, so that they're well informed as best as possible to be able to make decisions. So those are the things that I've learned through this subcommittee, and I'm looking forward to learning more, because it's very complex in nature.
And
Naturally.
to your point, Rig, that actually just brought up a very good question for me. Josh, if you recall, the Finance Committee was a member of the Association of Town Finance Committees in Massachusetts, correct? Are we still members of that?
That I do not know. I
Okay.
can look into it, but I don't know if there's some type of requirement. Since I've been here, I've been
Yeah, because I know that's a subgroup of the Massachusetts Municipal Association. The Association of Town Finance Committees usually does some type of general training for advisory board members and finance committee members. It gives a little bit of salient details as to what the purpose of a committee in general for finance is, what its purpose is, what it entails, how we can apply those types of concepts to our own usage. And if I remember correctly, they used to do the meetings in the fall, but that was pre-COVID, so I don't know if they're still doing them, in person on the weekends, or if they have a hybrid or a remote program. But if I remember correctly, it was through MMA, and I believe the correct terminology for the group was the Massachusetts Association of Town Finance Committees. If that is something, Josh, that we can maybe check with the town manager, it could be something that I think we still have a training budget, if I remember correctly. We probably can maybe sign members up to go to it, or if folks were curious to go and take notes for us and then bring it back, we can start developing policies based off that knowledge. But I think first and foremost, Josh, if you can look into it for us, I think that'd be super helpful, because I would certainly, I never unfortunately had the chance to go to one of those meetings, simply because at the time when they were being offered, I was actually just the secretary of the committee, so I didn't really have the ability to do so. But I do know a couple of members back in the day who did. So I would like to see if we can hopefully maybe get that again for members.
Indeed.
Could I speak here? I'd submitted a request to put on the agenda the actual per the town charter what the finance committee is supposed to do on a regular basis. And Josh, I put it in for the prior meeting, and I thought because it was canceled, it would get to be onto this meeting. But I would love to have it as part of the discussion, because I think we're just cutting around the edges here, when in fact, if you go look at what the charter tells us to go do, we're not doing any of that. We're just rubber stamping what's being put in front of us.
Right.
We're supposed to be involved in the school budget. We're supposed to be involved in the town budget. And here we are. I mean, we're trying to get, we don't follow really any of that. I mean, Rig, your example is an awesome one, where people, we need better training for the people that are coming in, but we need a better format for what we do here. We come in, we've had 3 requests tonight. We haven't seen one piece of financial information with any of them. One of them we just voted on, it's already been paid for. I mean, how are we supposed to follow? If we go look at what the charter says, we need to reestablish a guideline for this committee as to how we're going to help the town. Because at this point, I don't think we're not providing any benefit to the town, in my opinion. And I don't mean to insult anybody here, because everybody's putting in the same amount of time we are. But I mean, I'll make my point one last time. We have a water problem here. We have a benefits problem that we can't afford. We have a payroll problem. And not once have we discussed it in depth or from an overall standpoint until something's put in front of us. And for example, we've got the school budget we have to go talk about. I'm not even going to be in town. I'm told I can't even listen in because it's not going to be public that way. But yet it's going to get voted on. And that's going to handcuff us straight away. I'm sorry for the speech, but I would like to get us on a path here, and it goes back to what we were chartered to go do, which I don't think we're doing at this point.
I totally agree with you on that one, John. That's been something that I've had, I've taken issue with since I've been on the finance committee. And in my experience, either seeking out work in the municipal finance field itself and talking with other towns and cities, our finance committee doesn't even do 50% of what other towns and cities allow their finance committees to do. It is embarrassing in a manner of speaking, that our committee, while empowered by the charter, is not even given the same breadth or privilege in the same rooms that other groups meet in which to do business. You are correct. We do not. We need to be able to do more.
Excuse me, MJ. I have a question, John.
Point
if you
of
don't
reference.
mind.
Hold on one second, Nick. A point of
Go ahead.
reference is you as chairman. I'm brand new to this, so you as chairman have to put this in place for us. I mean that would be my opinion, but I think we do need to have a discussion on exactly what it says in the charter that we need to be doing, so that each and every member here, I had to go looking for this information. We should all be told this is what we're going to do as a committee, and then have a format that's conducive to achieving those objectives.
Right.
I totally agree, John. And I will be honest. I had attempted to make inroads to making it such that the finance committee was involved in meetings that the budget and finance subcommittee of the town council had, to have us be in attendance so that they could have our input even in real time, or at least us be in the room present to understand what's going on. Because oftentimes the town council will receive information before we do, and it turns our committee into basically essentially a rubber stamp. And for me, that is upsetting, because I know there are other towns that have finance committees where they are deeply ingrained in the budget process, where in their cases where there are select boards, they bring in the finance committee because that is how that's supposed to work. You are right. And under our charter, we are an advice and consent arm of the town government. We should be getting this information at the exact same time. And agreed on trainings as well. I've been a firm believer in wanting to get trainings. I've been wanting to get it done for years. The problem has been there's been changeover in government, and every time I and others on this committee have ended up back at square one. I'm hoping now that where there's consistent leadership and there's a consistent membership, we can at least have a concerted effort to once again restate and reaffirm that our purpose is to be an advice and consent arm, but we are to be involved deeply in the budget process, more so than we have been, and that we are not to be treated as a rubber stamp, that we are active participants in all the financial processes. It is concerning that we still continue to get things that happen after the fact, but I know, that being said, there is room for improvement. So with the members here, that is something that I certainly will take leadership on and bring forward to the town council and tell them we would like to be involved further in the process where we are constitutionally allowed to do so. And failing that, we seek out reform by having the charter amended or have some rules and guidance put in place so that we can actually do our job.
Okay, MJ, may I?
Yes, Mr. Palmieri.
You know what? I'd like to ask the members that are here, have you read what it says in the charter for an overview of the quote unquote financial committee, aka finance committee? Have you read it? Honestly, it's not a negative if you haven't, other than the fact that it's a responsibility.
Yes. And
if you haven't, let me just read something to you. As defined in the town charter, the financial committee provides financial advice. We're an advisory council to the town manager and the town council on the annual operating budget for all town agencies, including the regional school budget as adopted by the school committee. So in order for us to give them advice, we are the ones where the information is supposed to come to first, not them, us. And so obviously the charter is worthless and is being treated as such, number one. And so are we in that respect, because as John said, we are in essence a de facto rubber stamp because it's already been gone over by the others. They know what they're going to do. We're just taking and looking at this budget. And then we had to ask for information that we should have had in the beginning. That's incorrect as well. So we're unfortunately being treated poorly. Yet the very foundation of what we're supposed to be doing, the charter tells them we are supposed to be doing that work first. The financial committee provides financial advice to the town council and the town manager on long-range financial planning. I haven't seen that. I've been on this for 3 months and I've watched meetings for the last 2 years. I've never seen that happen. The financial committee is responsible for advising the town manager on the annual preparation of the town's capital improvement plan. Haven't seen that. It prepares a report for the town council on the said annual capital improvement program and participates in public hearings to review it. Really? I'm, you know what? It's almost, I got to be honest with you, I feel like we're here wasting our time. I don't like to waste my time. I'm not 20 years old anymore. I don't look and say, I've got about 75 years to live. I'm on the other side of that. Why waste my time for something? I love this town. Unfortunately, the town's in trouble. I mean, all you have to do is look and see what's happening with the water. You know what? I have a question from a financial standpoint. We have a possibility right now relative to this water issue. There could be lawsuits flying around. Are we prepared for that? Are we prepared for that financially? I'm throwing that as a general question.
As a rhetorical, I totally understand, Nick.
Pardon?
You're throwing that as a rhetorical. You're putting that out there as the rhetorical part of it.
Yes, absolutely. Because I don't know. I don't know if anything's going to happen, but I'm just telling you, we have some potentially explosive issues out there with respect to that. And yet that could cost us a fair amount of money. If we ever ended up in litigation, big money. Big money.
And it's not the first time a municipality would end up in that type of situation. And
You're 100% right.
And we need to be in the room when all this information is distributed. For me, the frustration has been is that, and I appreciate the fire that we have going right now, our membership. This pleases me because I have people who are sharing the exact same view and exact same concern. We need to be in the room when this stuff comes out, first and foremost, because it's supposed to be our job to tell people, you should be spending this. No, you shouldn't be spending this. This is what we're looking at in the next couple of years. We're going to tell you folks, either the town council or the school committee, this is financially untenable. Listen to us. We are the ones tasked with that expertise to give you the solutions to the problem. It's been the other way around, and it's been my experience both as the secretary, being the employee, but also being the member of the committee now for 5 years. It needs to change. And I think right now, with the way this membership is on this committee right now, I think we have enough verbal power, or at least ability, to bring forth to the council that this needs to change. It needs to come to us first. It needs to be brought to us first. We need to have this information first to be able to do our job effectively, because we don't deserve to be a rubber stamp. We deserve to be an operable body of this town.
Well, I'm sorry, MJ, but a lot of this falls on a single person. It just so happens to be the chair. And that would be you in this case. And so the chair is the one who needs to take and say to the town council, we're giving you advice. So in order to give you advice, this is what needs to happen. This is how it is going to happen. We can't do that. We can do it as a group, but through you, the chair, to do that. Now, you agree with me?
I absolutely agree with you, and I'm more than happy to do that, Nick. I'll do it again. I've done it before with the council. I'll do it again. I'm more than happy to say it once more, full-throatedly. And I now have an entire membership behind me consistent with that opinion and that belief. So I'm more than happy to go before the president. And I know there's a council meeting tomorrow evening. I'll go right before council and say that to them. More than happy to do it. And if you want, if you folks want me to, I will actually send a written statement. I'll send them a written statement tonight. I'll share it with Josh, and I'll distribute it to the president of the council, the town manager, and
the committee.
And well, I will have it distributed to the committee. Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Dr. Bennett.
If I may offer, it might be a good opportunity to have as many members who may be able to attend the meeting to show that this isn't just your position. This is kind of something that we all kind of feel.
I would agree with that. The concern would certainly be is if we had almost all the members of the committee there at that time, it would be considered a quorum for a meeting. And I don't think we have the ability to post a meeting in that amount of time. However, Josh, would it fall under an emergency provision to do that? I think if we did it in the official capacity as the finance committee, it would be considered an emergency meeting.
What is that? Do that again.
So under law, there's a stipulation in the law for open meetings that if there's an emergency purpose, a meeting can be called with less than 48 hours notice. but I don't know if this would rise to the level of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what would be the emergency purpose? Just to clarify, and I could look it up.
Yeah, I don't see where that would be the case.
Yeah.
You know
Are you
what?
saying that?
Well, hold on.
Go ahead.
Wait 1 second. Instead of going off on this, what would we like to do? Josh, I put in a request to discuss what the charter asks us to go do. And I think at a minimum, so we've got a school audit out there that has anybody asked to be, I mean, we pay for the audit. Is anybody asked when those details are ready, could the auditors come and talk to us and tell us what they found? We also have a deep dive audit out there for the schools. Can we ask that we have the results of those, and can somebody tell us, not just the school, but the auditor, where we stand with that? We paid for it. Somebody tell us, instead of us having to go stand up and make all these pronouncements, let's put together a list of things that we're going to put on their agenda for next week, and let's see them. And then we just got the town audit. We should probably discuss the findings of that in some kind of detail, right?
Mhm.
What
Absolutely.
did they find? What were the audit adjustments? How many audit adjustments were there? What improvements were there? What deficiencies were there? I know it's all written in there. They rely on the information, but I would love to just have a general conversation about where the auditors feel the town is in these things. And that audit just came out the other day.
Mhm.
Those are things that we could specifically say, we need this now. And then, I'd love to hear from Justin and from Lori. So we've taken $450,000 to sign up people into the water for the project. The Friendlies project is what I know of as. We've taken that as revenue. We can't give these people water. What are we thinking about doing? Well, how is that going to affect the 2026 budget? These are specific things that we should be talking about. We should put them on the agenda and have somebody give us some answers for them instead of us having to go figure this stuff out.
Right.
And those are 4 things I would love to come out of this meeting with and have on the agenda for next meeting so that we can all sit down and look at the same set of information.
Derek, if I may address what you said just a few moments ago about going to the meeting. Are you
Yes.
aware of the fact that the meeting tomorrow night with the town council, and here we were quibbling over a few $1,000s with the veterans. There's going to be proposed an article to be voted on in the April budget, the April election, for a stipend of $5,000 per town council member and $7,200 for the town council president. So we're adding what, $52,000.
MJ,
to the
MJ, I'm just going to interrupt for a second. So I understand you guys want to discuss this stuff. That's great. Let's get it to MJ so that she can put it on the agenda. But we're really getting off task here where this wasn't on the agenda, Nick, and just worried we're violating open meeting laws.
Josh, your statement's great, but here's my question, and we just talked about it a few minutes ago, and now you're highlighting exactly what the problem here is. And you know what that is? We should have been told that. We should have been given that information. Hey, guys, we're thinking of doing this. The governor said it's a great idea. We're thinking of doing it. We're thinking of adding $50,000+ onto the budget. What do you think? That's what this is. See this here? That's called your they used to call it the charter, but it's of no value because it's not used. It's only used when it seems to fit the bill. That's why this is such a waste of time. So you can't talk about. Yes, we can talk about it. We're doing it right now.
No,
we have a problem.
You're violating open meeting laws. That's
No,
what I'm
we're
trying to
not.
explain.
No, we're not. That is absolutely not true. What? There's no quorum?
What? No. You're talking about something that isn't on the agenda.
It's new business.
Sorry?
It's new business.
No,
Okay,
Nick,
so you can't just say it's new business. It has to be made public.
So we have muzzles? We have muzzles, do we? Is that what it is?
Nick,
Okay,
Nick,
good. Well, you're just making my mind up.
Nick,
Yeah.
what Josh is getting at is when additional items for discussion is brought up in a meeting, we're talking about items that we want to have brought forth to the next meeting. That being said, well, what I'm trying to say is that, to your point, stuff that you want to see be discussed, that is something we can put on the agenda for the next meeting. We can't specifically talk about it in the current meeting because it is not currently part of the agenda. When we're talking about additional items for discussion, we're saying we'd like to have this on the agenda for the next meeting to discuss it. And
Okay, that
Well,
sounds really good, MJ,
how
but here's the
about-
problem.
Nick,
We just got
hold
this.
on.
Yep,
Nick,
go
hold
ahead,
on
I'm
a
sorry.
second. So then, Josh, how
Yep.
do we get around this? And MJ, can we call an emergency meeting to go specifically discuss the problems that are happening today? How do we get this on the agenda? Because I'll tell you this, I did submit the charter, and it's now, I thought it would be on this agenda, but these are things, I mean, we've been at this 8 months, we haven't discussed them one time. So tell me how, as a group, we can talk about those 4 topics: the revenue for the water issue, period, the audits at the school and the town, and somebody from those places. We need to get that information sent to us.
Right.
So how would we do that as a committee?
so how we do that as a committee is we make that request right now to Josh. We make that part of our next meeting agenda.
Yep.
That's
Yeah. It
legally
just
how we
has,
can do
it
it.
just has to be, it just has to be through the chair. That's all. I don't set your guys' agendas. MJ sets your agendas. So
Okay.
that's
So-
all.
So then, and when can that next meeting be?
If we can, looking at the schedule right now, I would say the earliest we could do it would be next Monday, the 9th, if we want to do it then.
Available.
And then to follow up on Nick's point, how do we have any kind of input into a vote that's going to happen tomorrow that we've never discussed anything
This
with?
is the problem.
Therein lies the bigger problem, is that we don't get informed of this stuff until the day before it happens, which is why when council meets before us, and when council meets after us, we don't have all the information, and they're not giving it to us.
Madam
That's,
Chair,
I think, the
Are you
bigger
asking if it
problem.
gets referred? How it
Correct.
gets referred? So tomorrow it'll get referred to you guys.
Right. So then it could be on the agenda for Monday's meeting then.
Yeah. Yeah, I could, yeah, that'd be plenty of time for the 48-hour posting notice. So
Yeah.
MJ just needs to give me the additional items that she would like, and then I can get the referred items from tomorrow night's town council meeting.
Matt,
So what I'm hearing-
Madam Chair, if I
Yes, Ms.
if I may
Sullivan?
just, I would like to add another item to the agenda. I know snow removal is something that towns budget for
Mhm.
every year. I want to understand how the massive storm from last week impacted the town and what options for advocacy we have at the state level to pursue options that might minimize the impact this fiscal year, but could potentially impact our long-term liabilities.
Okay.
Definitely. And if possible, any sort of emergency service requirements, police, fire, extra hours, et cetera, things relating to if there is a major incident in the community, such as the snowstorm or a hurricane or.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes, Mr. Knoll?
um, I absolutely agree with all the agenda items that's being put on the table. And those things are absolutely important. I think, at least from my perspective, I think that the elephant in the room that needs to be addressed is the big why are we not part of these conversations early on, as opposed to, I'm going to use the verbiage that's been highlighted tonight, as opposed to this committee just being a rubber stamp, right? Especially given that there are clear guidelines outlined by the charter that says this committee should be, this committee plays such a critical role in every decision in advisory, financial advisory that happens with this town in all facet of the town, school, etc. My recommendation would be, in addition to, getting the agendas, the agenda item outlined, my recommendation would be, can we draft a letter? Can a letter be drafted to town council, to town manager, and anybody else who plays a critical role, who are decision makers, and asking, why are we not following the charter that is outlined? Why is it that the finance committee is essentially, the horse in the background, as opposed to maybe that analogy didn't make sense, but you get my point, right? With the afterthought.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that,
Absolutely.
and I think that speaks to the points that John and Nick brought up several minutes ago. That's exactly what I would certainly be doing after this meeting tonight, is writing that letter to that point, is that we need to be in the room. We need to be present in the room, and they need to acknowledge the fact that we're supposed to be seeing this stuff first before everything else. So that is going to be the letter that I send, that I will
Well,
copy
Can
to.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Mhm.
It's not just we need to be in a room, and you're absolutely correct. I think it's important to understand why are we not in the room.
Right.
I would like the individuals in the leadership in the group to outline why aren't we in the room when these conversations are happening. Because I guess it goes directly to their thought process, right? Because if we have these bylaws, if you will, this charter that outlines exactly how government should happen, specifically for our town, why are we not part of it, and the leadership is not adhering to these bylaws, to this charter, right? So I think it's two points. It's why this the why,
Mhm.
and then we need to, they need to adhere to so that we are in the room.
Mhm. Correct.
You know what, Rig? That's what you just said. I think it's so great. We're coalescing around, a single unit here. Um, but what you said is important, and that was my reasoning for voting no tonight relative to that freeze issue. Here's a situation where we're spending money, and that CPA money is taxpayer money. I mean, ultimately, that's where it comes from. Is we Well, yeah, it was already paid for. We just took it out of the town's budget. Where were we? Where were we in that conversation? I thought that's what the finance committee was all about. And that's what the problem is. It's yeah, give it to them. Give it to Mikey. He'll eat it. I get from the old commercial. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And I got to tell you that it's embarrassing for us because and MJ, I'm sure you feel the same way, that it's silly for us to be going over these things, and think about what you heard tonight. Yeah, well, it's already been paid. That should have just struck a note with everyone. And well, and then it's held over your heads like the sword of Damocles. Well, if you say no, we're just going to keep it out of the taxpayer funds. That's not the way it's supposed to be. We had no choice in that at all. We had no advice to give them. Just my thought. Sorry.
No.
Don't take it personal, Josh. I was, I get a little heated sometimes, but my point is that we're not doing what we're supposed to do because we're not given the opportunity, and therein lay the problem.
Correct.
I'm done.
I appreciate that, Nick. That's why I'm glad we have this group membership that we do, because this is what I am as good as I can be as a chair of the committee. I need the group behind me on it, and that's what I'm hearing tonight. And that's really helpful for me. And I have everything noted down here. So I'm going to just to summarize and make it digestible. At the end of this meeting, I'm sending the items to Josh for the agenda for our next meeting on Monday, March 9th at 7 p.m. We're going to include the items regarding the audit. We're going to be asking that the town manager be there. We're going to ask the finance director to be there. We're going to ask that the auditors be there to give us information about the audit. We'll see if we can get the folks that did the independent audit that this town, Rainham and the town of Bridgewater paid for. And I think if we have enough time to invite them, hopefully we do with the amount of time we have, we'll have them there in the room. We'll be able to ask those questions. And then the letter that I'm going to be sending to the town manager and to the town council is to reassert our authority under the charter that we are to be a committee involved in the budget process more deeply than we have been, and that we are to be acknowledged as a group that is to get the job done. And I'm going to do that tonight. So I think with all those salient points, I think we have a good amount of stuff that's going to be before us in the next week or so. And very happy to help steward that along, especially with the support of everyone here. So I think we've reached a natural progression of the evening, and I think we have a lot of good stuff that we're going to get going and work on. That being said, the hour is 8:47 at night. We have reached the next item on our agenda, adjournment of the meeting. And if members so entertain.
Before we close, MJ, if you don't mind, everything you said is great. Though I would like to see what happens if they don't do what you're asking them to do. Where are the teeth in the rule? So they don't give it to us. Okay, we didn't, and we're treated just the way we are now, and it keeps on going just the way it is. And we forgot to do this. We didn't do that. Where are the teeth? Do we just vote no for everything?
We could effectively do that, Nick, from a procedural standpoint. I would think that would be fairly petty if we were to do that from a strategic standpoint, but also from a point of being a functioning body. I would think that from a longer term standpoint, I know that there is a charter review committee that's going to be forming in the next few months. I think what would have to happen is that the charter would need to be heavily amended to bring more primacy and authority to the finance committee and to ensure that the finance committee's powers are enforced, whether by some sort of formal oversight committee or some other type of public review. I'm not sure if we can get that type of thing before that charter review committee. I know that process is long and strenuous, but that is certainly something that I think would be another off-ramp for us. So if they don't acknowledge us, then we have that something that we could probably bring to them at some point in the future. I'm not sure what that process would look like. I'm just saying that is something that could potentially be in the future. But yes, I get it. If we send a letter to them and they just ignore it completely, what is our purpose after that point? I'm still going to stand up and tell them, you continue to listen to us. Because I have 8 other people behind me for a committee of 9. And we're here to get something done. We're here to get it accomplished. And if they don't want to listen to that, well, it's going to be up to the public to hold the town council accountable to allow us to do our job. And I say that firmly as a resident in town who likes to see government bodies operate and follow the rules. So if that is to be the case, our committee will still have a loud voice. And if they don't want to listen, then we have to leave it in the hands of the taxpayers and the residents in town, some of them who are in attendance tonight, to make that decision as to whether or not they want that council to acknowledge the fact that there is another body co-equal with them that has authority to oversee the budget process. And I think that's what I'm hearing from folks tonight. I greatly appreciate it, because it has been a long time coming that we need to be acknowledged, that our group needs to be allowed to do its job, and that we get to follow in the steps of our other colleague committees throughout the Commonwealth that are finance committees that do more than what we're doing. We deserve that seat at the table, and we deserve to be a part of that conversation. And we need to get our information first before anything else happens. So I appreciate that, Nick. So that all being said, folks, I'll enter.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn made by Mr. Palmieri. Do I hear a second?
Oi.
Seconded by Dr. Bennett. Josh, can you take the roll call, please?
MJ?
Aye.
Derek?
Aye.
Rig?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you for
Thank you.
everyone for coming tonight.
Thank you, guys.